Hey, what is going on, guys? And welcome to episode 6 of the Studio Build series. Now, there has been a bunch of exciting things that have happened since you guys last saw it, so let's jump right in and check out the progress. Okay, well, when we left off in episode 5, the gas line had been brought into the building so we could get some heat in there soon. The studio ceiling was finished with PVC panels, and all the drywall for the shop side and mechanical room was dropped off. And it was only a couple of days later, and the guys were already hanging the boards on the walls in the bathroom, mechanical room, and up on the ceiling in the shop. And you might be wondering what's going to go on the rest of the walls that aren't drywalled? Well, it will be the same as what I'm doing in the studio, and I'll have more on that in a future episode. Now, right around this same time, work was taking place on the exterior as the brickwork was getting started, which is going on the studio side of the building. And this is also when that blue F-150 was out at the site and it got covered in mud, as did Ruby, though I know she didn't mind too much. Now, one thing I haven't told you guys is that the truck and trailer actually got stuck a few times, and it was a bit of a struggle to get it close enough to the studio, mostly because they were bringing this roughly 700-pound monster of a machine out to grind the concrete in preparation of the floor coating. So to give you some further explanation on what's going on here, I'm going with a polyaspartic floor coating, which is similar to the epoxy coating I have on my garage floor right now, only it's going to be much more durable and look a lot better. But before the coating can be applied, the concrete needs to be grinded and basically roughed up so that the coating can adhere properly. So they'll run the machine over the entire floor, and as you can imagine, it produces quite a bit of dust, so they've got it hooked up to a shop vac, which keeps the dust to a minimum. Now, because I want the studio floor to be as watertight as possible, I'm also having the guys apply the polyaspartic coating to the grade beams as well, which is going to not only look great, but will make it much easier to clean when they inevitably get dirty and wet. So just like the floor, the surface needs to be prepped, which first involves chipping off any large chunks of concrete left on after the forms were removed, and then grinding those spots down until they're nice and smooth. Okay, with the grade beams prepped, the guys got to work the next day and started mixing up the polyaspartic mixture, which is a 2-part mix. Then they'll also add a tinted base coat, which complements the color of the chip I chose, and we'll then start rolling it on the concrete, and we'll also apply it to the wood sitting on top of the concrete grade beam. Now once the base coat is dry, they'll apply a second base coat, only this time they'll get the chip applied to the grade beam while it's still wet, and I don't know about you guys, but this looks like quite a bit of fun to do. Alright, well the next day, once everything was dry, the guys were back to scrape the chip, which is done to smooth it out and break off any clumps or high spots. Next, a quick vacuum of the floor is done to suck up all the excess chip. Okay, well the last step in the process here is to get the top coat applied, which is again a two-part mixture, just without the tint this time, so it's clear. Now since the grade beams aren't perfectly smooth and they do have some divots in them from the strapping that's used on the forms, they're quickly mixing up a blend of top coat and chip, which they'll then hand apply and fill in those divots to make the finished wall as smooth as possible. Okay, well shortly after the grade beams were coated, the drywall guys were back to mud and tape all the drywall, so a couple days of work later and that's starting to take shape as well. And because there's only a temporary furnace hung in the mechanical room and the final ducting isn't done yet, they've got a bunch of fans set up to circulate the warm air around the building so the mud can actually dry out. Then a couple days later, and the ceiling was primed and textured. Alright, well a moment I'd been waiting for a very long time was finally here. The electricians were back to install all the LED lights, which are Lithonia high bay lights, putting out 15,000 lumens each at a 4,000 Kelvin color temperature, which will be a nice pure white. And in order to get them all perfectly aligned with each other, they use a laser, which I thought was pretty cool. And because there's no better time to rip into the walls to run wires than after they've already been insulated and polyed, I had the guys run me a 50 amp welding plug in the shop. It was something I was on the fence about a few months back, but ultimately decided to add it before it was too late and the walls were done. Okay guys, well that is going to wrap up episode 6. Now once again, there has been a ton of change since the last episode, and honestly I am pretty pumped that we finally have some light in here. It makes such a huge difference, and the grade beams, they look incredible. I absolutely cannot wait until the floor gets coated. That is coming up in episode 7, but until then, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one.